In a remote village nestled at the foot of the mountains, where the ancient ways still ruled over people's lives, lived a young woman named Oluchi. Oluchi was kind, gentle, and known for her hard-working nature. She married a man named Ekene, and for years they lived a simple but peaceful life. However, the society in which Oluchi lived was bound by age-old traditions and superstitions, particularly regarding children. In Oluchi's village, a man's pride rested on his ability to father sons. Daughters were often seen as a burden, good only for marriage and housekeeping. Sons, on the other hand, were believed to carry the family name, secure wealth, and provide for their aging parents. It was a belief deeply ingrained in the culture, and anyone who went against it faced scorn, shame, and sometimes even worse. Oluchi had 4 daughters, and with each birth, the villagers whispered more harshly behind her back. "Another girl," they would murmur. "What will become of this family?" Ekene, at first, loved his daughters. But as the years passed and the pressure from his family and the villager grew, he became resentful and bitter toward Oluchi. His once gentle words turned harsh, and his affection toward his daughters faded. The village elders would often speak to him, advising him to take another wife or do away with the cursed woman who could not bear him a son. Ekene's heart, already burdened by society's expectations, slowly hardened against his wife. One evening, as Oluchi sat by the fire with her daughters, she noticed Ekene's absence. He had been spending more and more time with the village elders, and that night her heart sank with a heavy sense of foreboding. She kissed her children good night and waited for Ekene to return. But when he did, he came not with the warm embrace she had once known, but with cold, calculating eyes. "We need to talk, Oluchi," he said, his voice filled with the weight of a decision long made. "Ekene, what is it? Have I done something wrong?" Oluchi asked, fear creeping into her voice. Ekene sighed, pacing the floor before stopping to face her. "You have given me nothing but daughters. You know what the villagers say. A man without a son is a man without a future. The elders, they believe you are cursed, that you have brought shame upon this family." Oluchi felt a cold shiver run down her spine. She had heard these whispers before, but never did she think that Ekene would believe them. "But Ekene, our daughters, they are our blood, our future. How can they be a curse?" "I cannot face the shame anymore," Ekene snapped. "The villagers have spoken. They say there is a way to rid ourselves of this curse, to cleanse the family of this shame." Oluchi's heart pounded in her chest. "What are you saying?" "The elders, they believe that if you are sacrificed, if your blood is spilled, the curse will be lifted, and I will finally have sons." Oluchi gasped in horror, unable to believe what she was hearing. You would sacrifice me? Your wife? The mother of your children?" Ekene's face was hard, unmoving. "I have no choice."
Welcome to Twist Tales as Done,
where ancient voices come alive. Step into a world of magic, mystery, and timeless wisdom.
where the stories of the past come alive.
The following morning, Oluchi was dragged before the village, her arms tied behind her back. The elders, along with Ekene, stood at the center of the village square, surrounded by the villagers who had come to witness the cleansing. Fear gripped her heart, but she held her head high. She had done nothing wrong but give life, and yet she was condemned for it. The village priest stepped forward, holding a staff decorated with bones and feathers. He chanted incantations in a language long forgotten by most, calling upon the ancient spirits to bless the sacrifice. Oluchi's daughters watched from afar, too young to fully understand what was happening, but old enough to sense the danger their mother was in. "We call upon the spirits to remove the curse from this family," the priest intoned. "This woman has brought forth only daughters, a sign of misfortune, and for that she must be punished." As the priest finished his chant, the crowd pushed Oluchi toward the ancient tree that stood at the edge of the village. This tree, towering and gnarled, was said to have witnessed many sacrifices over the centuries, and now it would bear witness to Oluchi's unjust punishment. The villagers tied her to the tree, her arms stretched out as though she were being crucified. Oluchi's mind raced, her heart pounding in her chest. She could feel the rough bark of the tree digging into her skin, and she could hear the chants of the villagers growing louder, fueled by superstition and ignorance. She looked for Ekene, hoping he would stop this madness, but he stood among the villagers, his face expressionless. Suddenly, the priest raised a hammer and nails. The crowd gasped, and for a moment, Oluchi thought someone would stop him, that someone would come to their senses. But no one did. The first nail was driven into her hand, and a scream tore from her throat. Pain like she had never known shot through her body, and tears streamed down her face. "Stop this," she cried. "I have done nothing wrong." But the villagers were deaf to her pleas. One by one, the nails were driven into her hands and feet, pinning her to the tree. Blood flowed freely from her wounds, staining the ground below. Her daughters, watching from a distance, cried out for their mother, but no one came to their aid. As the pain overwhelmed her, Oluchi closed her eyes, trying to focus on the faces of her children. The love she had for them, she had given life, she had nurtured, and yet she was condemned because of the village's archaic beliefs. Her breath came in ragged gasps as the priest continued his incantations, declaring that the curse was lifted. But as Oluchi hung on the tree, something strange began to happen. The sky darkened and a fierce wind swept through the village. The villagers, who had been cheering moments ago, now looked up in fear. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and the tree to which Oluchi was nailed began to shake violently. Suddenly, the tree's branches seemed to move of their own accord, wrapping around Oluchi's body as if cradling her. Her blood, which had spilled onto the ground, seeped into the earth, and from the ground sprouted vibrant flowers, glowing with an otherworldly light. The villagers screamed in terror, running from the tree as the wind howled louder. In the chaos, the tree's roots broke free from the ground, and with a mighty creak, it rose into the air, carrying Oluchi's body with it. The villagers watched in horror as the tree, now glowing with a strange energy, vanished into the darkened sky. From that day on, the village was never the same. The people believed they had angered the gods with their senseless act of violence, and soon after, droughts, famine, and disease ravaged the land. Ekene, racked with guilt and grief, wandered aimlessly through the village, his mind broken by the loss of his wife and the curse he had brought upon himself. But Oluchi's daughters, though left without a mother, carried her spirit within them. They grew strong, resilient, and wise, rejecting the village's old ways. And as they grew, they spread the story of their mother, the woman who was sacrificed for giving life, but whose spirit could never be broken.
Subscribe now and join us as we bring Africa's timeless stories to the world. Let the echoes guide you.